stays.
Good morning, everyone. Mortgage-backed securities are down a little bit. They're down 12 basis points. You know, we did have a decent 10-year note auction we'll tell you about from yesterday, but still, mortgage bonds, they are down 12 basis points right now. 10-year Treasury ticking up just a couple of bips here. We'll show you that on the charts and see what it means. Well, as I mentioned, Congressional Budget Office had Philip Swagel on CNBC this morning, and it was pretty interesting what he had to say. So first, here's the good news. The deficit for 2024 was projected to be $2 trillion, a pretty big number. It's still a big number, but less than anticipated at 1.6 trillion. There was some reductions that was done. If you might remember, Kevin McCarthy, along with the Biden administration, they kind of put together some things with mandatory cuts, and that is helping. But still, that 1.6 over the next 10 years swells up to 2.6 trillion. That's a very big number. It would represent 116% of gross domestic product, which is an all-time record, as you can imagine. The thing of it is that this may be priced for perfection. It is unlikely that we hit that number. It is a very good probability we go above that. You know, political influences come into play. You know, do we have tax cuts? Do we have additional spending? I don't know. Who knows what the future holds? But as the song goes, maybe one of these days we'll pay it back. But according to the Congressional Budget Office, it's not going to be in our lifetime. Now, what's the implications for mortgage-backed securities? Well, let's show you how this plays out here. A couple of points here to bring up is that, number one, we do have this 1.6 trillion that has to be financed some way. We don't have the money because that's a deficit. The way we make up for it is we sell treasuries, we borrow it. It's kind of like taking out a mortgage or a loan. And you guys that are listening, you all finance it. And if you don't think you do, please check your mutual funds, 401ks, IRAs, insurance policies. You guys are footing this bill. You're financing it. Now, you're getting a rate of return. You're getting interest on it. So that's what happens, and that's how we finance it. Now, unfortunately, not only does the market have to absorb this, but you know the Fed is coming up with, is reducing their balance sheet, and they're pushing out another 1.1 trillion. That's $95 billion a month, 35 billion roughly mortgage-backed securities, and 60 billion of treasuries that are being run off of their balance sheet. So the market's got to suck this up too. So that means that there's about 2.7 trillion in supply coming in. Now, how does it compare to 2023? Well, it's a lot better, 3.4 trillion. So just on sheer supply coming to the market, it would indicate lower rates. And yeah, what does 3.4 trillion look like? Well, you're looking at 8% mortgage rates we got to, and 5% on the 10-year, 5.5% on the 2-year. So better conditions right now, a lot better. But what if the Fed were to start reducing its balance sheet? Probably let the mortgage rates, what if the Fed were to slow down the runoff of its balance sheet? Let me correct that. And we know that they'll probably let the mortgages roll off at that 35 billion or so anyway. But treasuries, they might taper them. They might do that slow down of quantitative tightening. If that occurs, well, you could see some benefit here. Now you'd be down to about 2.3 trillion of supply versus last year's 3.4 trillion versus what we're starting off here, 2.7 trillion. This could be some good news for rates. It's reason to potentially be optimistic. Now, they also see two other things. One is they see that the Fed cutting, like we do, May, June. They think that that's very realistic, and that's kind of what the market thinks too. But they also came up with something very interesting. They see the unemployment rate at 4.4%. Let me tell you why that's meaningful. Should write down 4.2% unemployment rate, because of the 19 Fed members, 12 of them told us that they think the unemployment rate will be between 3.8 and 4.1%. So what does that mean? If we do hit 4.2%, then a lot of these Fed members will have to readjust their thinking. Perhaps they won't be thinking, oh, the economy is doing so great. Oh, we can wait to be patient. Maybe they might have to get more aggressive, cut a little bit more, and then that key roll off of the balance sheet, they might start to slow down that quantitative tightening. And as you can see on a supply and demand perspective, that is the most important function that's out there. So let's watch that carefully as far as the unemployment rate goes. I know at 3.7, it seems like we're far away from hitting 4.2 or above. This can change rapidly, and we've broken down why some of the job numbers have holes in it.